Hello. Yep, streams live, or at least I've been told by the Race Streams channel and CRL. But yeah, a different stance today. We will be racing rather than commentating. Reason why is to make up driver numbers, because unfortunately only 9 are showing out of the 14 who did attendance or whatnot. So yeah, we need that commentator's boost of giving you some overtakes rather than commentary. Of course, if I do crash out or whatnot, it will switch into a commentary stream. But without further ado, let's get into qualifying, as I'm not expecting any higher than 10th. I don't even know if I have a Miami setup saved. No, I don't. That is a brilliant start. Let's bid up CRL's free setups. Unofficial sponsor today. Just bear with me while we organise this kerfuffle. Known as a setup. For context, the last league race I did, yeah, it was on F124. So, politest way possible, go easy on me, because I am going to be a bit poor
right now. Let's get out there.
at this. However, it's hopefully going to be some fun and shits and giggles. Out we go, guys. I'm not ready for this, but yeah. Likes of Fiora, championship leader. But yeah, results haven't been done due to my busy schedule and no admins doing anything. But hopefully we will have a enjoyable bit of qualifying action here in Miami. I'm dreadful at this circuit, so do ignore my driving. And yes, I do use a racing line on corners, because I've spent about 300 hours on this game commentating, about 40 driving or whatnot. It's really disproportionate. So my learning curve is non-existent, but this just shows how assist friendly the league truly is, seeing it from a driver's perspective rather than a commentator's perspective. Shows that flaws can be put out there, as we are journeying on our outlap. Almost forgot to have deploying none. That's how you know I'm not in any league habits whatsoever. But yeah, Monday on Legends Div, it was Miami. That race was won by a driver who ended up departing. So yeah, but it was a scruffy race. Hopefully today will be a bit better, as long as I don't find a wall. We should be all good. But anyways, up towards turn 1 now for our first flyer of this evening. Heavy on brakes for turn 1, trying to hit that apex, shimmy it out wide, and back on throttle as we go through turn 2, as your mum is now just messaging in chat, because it's the second week in a row they have missed the start and will probably be trying to get in to the qualifying action. This could be good because, yeah. But irrespective of that, hoping to give Sauber some points today would be a nice thing. We'll try and get the toe off of Fiora. Never mind, I've gone deep. That is not ideal. But yeah, the joys. Oh no, controller battery is low, guys. Yeah, we may be cooked today, chat. As Mr. Jedi is fastest man out on track so far. But yeah, into turn 1 for take 2 of this shenanigans. At least we have a lap on the board. It's better than saying no lap whatsoever. And it means we will have something to fall back on if we don't get a lap and somehow someone does a shambolic run. But you can see my run is just going to be as shambolic. I'm 6 tenths down on an even scruffier sector 1 than my last time, but I'm still 9 tenths quicker than the man sitting in 7th. Darkpaw 26.6 so far. As I'm approaching the Mickey Mouse section, this is where I fluffed it on my previous run. Get on the brakes, shimmy the car in, and there we go. Look at that magic, guys. 9.5 seconds up on my PB. Gonna avoid those rules as best as I can, because I am playing Dodgems rather than F1. But yeah, this is an okay lap, let's say. Out of the final corner. Up to start finish line, we're just going to have to try and nurse that battery as much as possible while on our in lap, because we've only got 0.24 laps of fuel. I really have not thought too far ahead with my fuel for this. As Fiora going slow. But yeah, at least we've got a lap good enough for 5th so far. I think we could maybe try and push into that top 3. But yeah, we will find out with time. As I can tell you from my behalf, this is not the best lap I can do. I'm doing like 27s or whatever in time trial. So I should be looking at a low 28 in this. As we'll take this as an opportunity to send the likes of your mum an invite, get the Red Bull in the lobby. You can just see my sectors and you will know it's not a representable lap. But yeah, it's a lap. That's the
Right, so our best lap so far, 1 minute,
important thing.
29.5.
Let's go out on another set, just straight away onto a pair of mediums, just to try and get one hot lap in. Then come back in, chuck on a set of softs, and end this qualifying showcase. I can't pick a car, honestly, mate. If you go into the if you start spectating the lobby, then go to spectator menu, you should then pick a car. I had to go through this with you last week. We aren't going to be resetting this week for it, because it's like we've already taught you. At this point, it's you're not choosing to learn, and all in all, it's really punishing you for not showing on time. So try that. If it doesn't work, tough luck, buddy. I'm really gonna start growing out a hard shell as the owner of CRL, because quite a few people use the loopholes. But yeah, you go into spectate for the event, then go to your spectator menu, which for PS is square, for Xbox is something like X or something. And then you go across, and then you should be able to take over a car. But yeah, another lap on for the Sauber. Don't worry, this won't be a weekly thing with me. It's just one off. Get us into the double digits comfortably. But now you can see a bit more of what I can do. 7 tenths up in that first sector. That was a bit of a neater run, still a bit rough. However, I'm happy with the basics. Got very close to that white line there. Trying to chuck it through Mickey Mouse. Gonna lose some time, unfortunately. As a result, chuck the car through. Trying to thread the needle fully. And into the final sector. Said it was a purple for a brief moment. I'm still 3 tenths off of that Ferrari while on a soft run, so bear that in mind. This is not going to be front end competitive. This more than anything is just going to see me up into that top 5. But we really do never know. Here in CRL, over the line, and it's 5th. A good second out from Fiora. I know I'm not going to be fighting them today. They are really in a league of their own most of the time. But just to know we were on the outskirts of a top 4 is quite comforting, with the Ferrari now going up, Fire Striker dropping into 3rd and Fiora into 4th. On my final round, do expect a bit of battery usage. But yeah, I could probably end here and take home a 5th. I'd be happy with that. And then the main race would be just bring it home, keep it clean and all that jazz. But yeah, working up the back straight now. About to dive into the pits, make a few final adjustments, and then we can give it one final blow for hopefully a top 4 I'd say. I do think I can try and match Fire Striker with a bit more of an oomph. However, yeah, as it seems like your mum does not want to do what I've said, so it doesn't look like they'll be partaking. They've still got 4 minutes or whatever to do so, unless that's a Red Bull out on track rather than the V carb. But I want to say my eyes weren't deceiving me when it was a V carb. But yeah. No, it won't, mate. I've done it before. I've joined late to something, then you go into spectate, so you're spectating the race, and then you press your options button to open up your like spectator menu where you can change all your stats. Then you just flick through until you find an AI car. You can't tell me it doesn't work unless you've picked a team before, because honestly that is a bit of bullshit.
28.4.
I'm gonna have to hate to break it to you, mate. There's no AR car, then if you scroll all the way through there should be one. I'm telling you that as a fact, mate. You can even turn around and ask the staff and they will say the same. You ask any typical league race and they will say the same. But yeah, as I said, if it don't work, tough. That's what you get for being late. It's really simple. It's bad enough CRL started 7 minutes past the hour anyways. We usually say 5 past. But then every single time people don't start joining until 7. But yeah, final stage in qualifying. I'm going to try and get out of the way of the Aston down here. Because yeah, I do think they want to push. Really only giving myself run, which I'm happy with. Because usually I do better one runs than multi-laps. I'm going to drop back a bit from the Aston, so I don't put unnecessary pressure on me in that lap. And now, for the final time today, you'll get to see a quali run from a commentator. Up towards turn 1 we are going to go. We will immediately get on some of that battery deploy, give it all we've got. We will go a bit deep unfortunately, so it will mean sometimes lost that we will have to try and thrive through and fight back against in the rest of this lap. But it looks a-okay so far. I've gone a bit deep. That's going to be even more time lost, which you can really tell I'm not one of these high-end drivers. I'm just good enough to do the bare minimum, and that is qualify. But anyways, through the middle sector, turn off battery just after this bridge. Remember, I do not do often qualifying, so yeah, do not expect me to know all the professional battery deploy zones and whatnot. However, as things stand, it's going to be 5th on the grid, which I will very happily take here in Miami. Not my strongest of tracks, as Cellular Pie has retired from qualifying. I think, yep, that is going to be a quali ban. That car moving away in the Williams, I think. Round the final corner. Battery again on as we go up to the line. What will it be? It'll be enough for 5th. I'm happy with that. Half a second off the Ferrari in 3rd. They do an AI outside my own personal bracket. I think I even went within half a second of my time trial lap. So yeah. But you can just see 2 tenths off Fiora. That's concerning regarding their championship leader, but still 1.6 out of Dark Drags League. That is crazy numbers. I do think my fight will be against Jedi and Uncrewed Axis today. Maybe see if I can hold with these a lot. I could maybe challenge Fire Striker, but who knows. As we will really just wait and see. As yeah. Session timer just ticking down a bit. Fiora saying it's ridiculous. I want to see why. Is it the pace of the Aston Martin? It's driving standards, that's why. According to Fiora. Because they said there'll be some reports post-race, which is always a lovely thing to experience, as everyone tries getting everything they can out of one another. I know it's not me, because I did not even see Fiora in that quali session. I was really just minding my own beeswax is the best way to put it. Fuel load, let's go 30.8. Okay, let's do this. I am so not ready. But you can see 4 cars ahead of me. Let's see what damage we can do. Whether or not it will just be P5, we'll find out. But it would be quite nice to take a podium where possible. That Dark Drag's pace, however, is quite insane. Fiora on the inside for turn 1. 5 lights are up and they are now immediately gone, with us getting a fairly okay start compared to those around us. We'll have Fiora on the inside, but Jedi even having a little glance at the McLaren, but we'll squeeze down the inside of the Scuderia, and that is already 2 places in the first 3 corners. Just keeping our composure is all we need, as we'll get our first track limit strike. Just because I can't do that S section whatsoever, Fiora will already go, you know what, he is slow. As I'm already outside of a second of Fire Striker, I'm not going to try and make it too difficult for the championship leader, just because I know they'll breeze by. As you can see there now, I'm going to try and keep it to the inside, however, see how long I can fend the place off, as we'll go dancing through the Mickey Mouse section, as your mum has ended up diverting out of the session once more, as now this is really becoming a problem, because that's my second track limit strike on this opening lap, and now it's best behaviour for the rest of the race is the nicest way to put it. However, I'll take third on the opening lap. Just got to pipe down a bit and follow the groove, as yellow flags being waved. That's Uncrewed Axie, who has gone off, which is a shame for the Racing Bulls. However, 10 drivers today, so everyone who crosses the line will take a championship point. Here, of course, 25 down to 1, the traditional F1 point system, no point for fastest lap or whatnot. However, the Williams is in the Mickey Mouse, having a little bit of a daydream at the moment, which is rather interesting to say the least. Fiora rather struggling in that papaya outfit. Well, I know my race is just going to go backwards from here. I do not have the pace to last the longevity of holding up these a lot. They're so out of my zone, so I'll just give Fiora that place. And now job is to try and stick with the McLaren as they go through the Mickey Mouse. I'm going to try and take a few tighter lines, get as much as I can into our gap. And could there be a lunge here on the back straight? We'll use some battery just to get us up to that DRS zone, and then it will all be about what can be done with top speed. However, I'm not really gaining much on the McLaren whatsoever, so we'll just keep it a bit under wraps, a bit of a deep lunge. I'd say we're lucky not to have gone back into the rear end of the McLaren, who's just set fastest lap of the race, and now it's about trying to hold up the Ferrari of Max here today, as the William already a laps down on the third lap for us, second lap for him, as uncrewed Axie into the pits as well. That's 2 races already set onto an offset, which is not ideal for those drivers. But you can see the Ferrari of Max Scavenger starting to look around, seeing whether or not they can scavenge a possible place off of me, and they will just get on the throttle so much earlier, get so much more grip, and away they are with the fairies up into P4. As you can just see difference in lines. I've gone deep, he's gone deep, as Fire Striker has gone round in the Alpine. That's granted us a place, and that will also grant Jedi a place, surely. Or are they going to fight it out as Max Scavenger goes a bit deep? So I'll try and lunge it round the outside. I'm going to get the traction this time, however, and it's going to be a bit about the battery usage as we now go onto the back straight. I'll use the RS and then I'll just tuck ahead, make them wait a bit longer. But you can see Fiora already onto the back of the Aston Martin of Dark Drags as Max goes deep. That's going to give Firestrike and Brian, or Jedi, as you know, a bit of breathing room. They know they can fight this out as the Haas goes back up into P5, and now we are just sitting here waiting. And I did not know myself that I could be commentating while driving, so do thank me a lot for my wide range of skills. However, it's going to become a point where I'm looking at that track map more to see what's going on around us, but we're already 4.1 off of the leaders after 4 laps, as Firestrike again ahead of the Haas of Jedi, as there's yellow flag for the Williams once again, who's almost going to be 2 laps down within the first 5 of this race. You can see our tyre wear, it's already gone through the roof, hence why we've got fairly short stints. It could be worth maybe looking at a 4 stint strategy, a 3 stopper in this race if it really goes to all out extremes, as there's a virtual safety car for the Williams who has had an offing.
Our delta's too low and we're going to risk a penalty. Slow your pace immediately.
But yeah, that is very interesting because they will almost certainly come out a lap down. I'm going for the early one. It's a very big gamble as VSC still sits out the McLaren of Jude with a drive-through. Luckily for me, this has actually worked quite well as the VSC is still deployed, and I am now back on the racing greens of this circuit, which I'd like to say I'm proud of.
Slow down, your delta's negative, which means you're going too fast. Reduce your pace.
But now we can go racing here in Miami in a moment's time, see who else gets a drive through or whatnot. But it's 6th place, 6.5 seconds off of the Haas of Jedi, as Suspension, the other Haas, who's now behind me, gets a 3 seconds for track limits. I thought it'd be a gamble, it almost definitely will be a gamble, but I love having a challenge, whether that is behind the microphone commentating or behind the controller rather than a wheel, as that's somewhere in which I'm out of my league, as we have now just hit another VSC for the Williams, pretty much driving into the wall there. You just saw that firsthand, and luckily, because ghosting's on, got to go nice and through them, as Darkpaw into the pits, Fiora into the pits. They've probably noticed what I've done, so there's a chance they could be covering off, as most drivers all doing the same, which is not good for my strat whatsoever. But at least I've gained a tiny bit of time under this VSC, which will give me a bit of ground on them all. Which I do think is a very good move in a strategical sense. As you can now see, the gap to the leaders, it's dropped by about half a second, or to Fiora at least, but to the cars behind it's opened up by a good 1.5 seconds. It's really played out to my favour, but Jedi has been lost in the past, as there's a Mercedes off and into the wall in the hairpin. Don't know why they're waiting around up there, as it's suspiciously taking a while for them to rejoin the circuit. But yeah, I'm on fresh hards, quite a few around me on fresh mediums. So it's going to be a race of tyres. It's again a very big strategy call, but I'm expected to take this to lap 20 to go back onto my strategy and bring things home on the mediums, which I personally think is a wee bit ambitious, but we will find out as the time does pass in this race. Fiora, now your leader going into turn 1, as their fight with Darkpaw for the race lead is finally illuminating. As they are probably the two strongest drivers in this div, now going head to head for possible glory tonight, which is a storyline most drivers love to follow, but the main story probably has been overshadowed a bit with the commentator racing rather than driving, but quite a few yellows being chucked up around the circuit. Not too convincing on my behalf, but yeah, yet again I think Fast Strike and Max Scavenger will come into play at some point and start to become a bit of a threat to what I'm doing. All I can say is running provisional top 3 for the first 7-8 laps. It's a very good sign, as Dark Drags has actually got 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. I believe that's 4. As again the Mercedes is off in that hairpin. Which is a very odd thing, and now they've just respawned onto the track. A very tight line there for the Mercedes, as Jude has been disqualified from this session here in Miami. Boy oh boy, that has said a lot about that Mercedes. And their showcase, they didn't finish in Abu Dhabi, they've been disqualified here in Miami. It's really all not going to plan for that Mercedes team whatsoever. But here today, now my race really is the two behind me rather than the two in front, because if you haven't noticed, since the VSC's ended, they've gained a second in about 2.5 laps. So there is a bit to think about for the long run. Think about how we're going to defend the threat coming up, as I'll be brutally honest, they are both much quicker, like much quicker. So just being ahead for now is good, especially for Sauber's constructors titles, as me and Max both took a very similar line, as they are about to creep into the DRS range here. Lap 9 has started. Let's see if we can try and set banker laps of 32.5s rather than 32.7s and whatnot, just so that way we can protect ourselves a bit in this race. Pretty much send a message to them going, you're a bit too close, it's time for us to put our foot down. Whereas we've probably been a bit off guard for the last few laps. This is now crunch time, because we need these hards to go to lap 20 and for us to still be ahead of the medium runners at the moment come the end of it. All I can say is we've been very well behaved though. 2 track limit strikes in the opening lap, and then we have not seen the likes of that ever since. But use a bit of battery here to fend off of the Ferrari and take the braking zone, go a bit deep. They got it a bit better. With a wider line we can carry a bit more momentum out of the corner. However, up towards turn 1 now, this is probably their best bet at overtaking us as soon as possible, but they will wait to the Mickey Mouse section. Max Scavenger going a bit deep, Fire Striker doing so as well, as it does try and encourage me for a free. Let's have a look at Tyra. I do think we can try and make it last 10 laps. We've made it last 5 or whatever, even though the front right is killing itself quite quickly. But the closer we can get to lap 29, the extra safety we can have in this race, because it's used mediums we'll be going on to. So it will not be a straightforward race whatsoever, unless we try and use the softs as a filler stint. Give us a bit of lost time back, because they pick quite early for the mediums, and if my hardware is going out of the window, surely they will struggle as well when on those tyres. You can see the Ferrari goes deep. We'll get a slightly better exit. We'll even get DRS for the run to turn 1. And again, squeeze down the inside. And back through we go. That is the most efficient way to survive the start of a lap. As once again, the Ferrari is put onto that back foot. As I really have not been monitoring the laps I've been doing, I've just been trying to survive. But Max Scavenger has got 3 seconds off track limits, which gives us a wee bit of an upper hand. They'll use their DRS up towards the Mickey Mouse. That's gone their way for us. It will mean we've got another opportunity, well, another 2 opportunities to come back at them in the next 2 straights, which then take us through that first sector. So bear that in mind, as those mediums will also start wearing quite fine at the moment. They'll deploy battery and start to weave quite a bit. As I'll get DRS once again. That screwed the Ferrari over. DRS round the outside and back up into that 3rd place. That was a very flirtatious move, let's say, as Firestriker tried going around the outside there of Max Scavenger. A bit of contact between the Alpine and the Ferrari as they'll go dueling through turn 3 now. As you could just see, the Alpine will now get ahead. I'll have to be racing one of the CRL admins today, so I hope he plays nice on me, knowing I'm the owner. But you never know. This Alpine looking for his first ever podium in CRL, and Max Scavenger also looking for a podium on their CRL debut. So 2 big events at stake for them. Whether or not they'll be able to succeed, we will find out, as I'm going to drop into none. That kind of encourages them to go to the inside. I'll give them a teeny bit of a pinch, but still give them some room, as this is really about recuperating, harvesting that battery down through the low speed Mickey Mouse, and that will give us an extra 10% to use on this back straight. As you can see, those tyres continuing to go sky high, so it really may end up being a free stop for us, as the Ferrari of Max Scavenger almost look to try and go to the inside of us there. Unfortunately for them, they will have to wait a while longer. And now, once more, we can drop this into none and try and bring back some battery use, because that is really what our race is going to be dependent on here. Through the corners, harvest. Through the straights, deploy. Start to do some very smart driving.
You should be feeling the effects of some tyre wear soon, so stay on your toes.
As their mediums now getting quite close to 0. As you can see, finally gone into the medium wear of 60+%. Could literally be go lap 15, chuck softs on, go for lap 21. Covered the middle of the road there, and once again they're in my world, because they are now going to have to try and get by on this back straight, and if so, they'll have to be wary about the detection point out of the final corner. Max Scavenger has lost it to me so many times going through it. They'll yield off a bit, give me a little bit of a push as well, but backs off, and Firestriker even capitalises on the Ferrari, knowing what was going to happen if he went by. So Max again has 2 cars to try and work through, rather than just the one, which, if you ask me, is not ideal whatsoever. However, I'm doing a really good job at keeping this race intact as long as possible. As blue flags for suspension, who is limping around in that Haas car, really not showing much competition today, as Firestriker gets quite close to the inside. I really can't get the car under wraps, so could be looking at a slightly earlier stop of about lap 15, chuck on soft then go for mediums as long as possible.
Okay, caution, caution. Virtual safety car is out. Reduce speed and maintain a positive delta on your dash.
But yeah, VSC deployed. I think that kind of begs for us to pit.
Right, drop your speed. Our delta's too low and we're going to risk a penalty. Slow your pace immediately.
We are now down to 7 as Darkpool has of course retired. Fast Strikers just gave me a bump into that pit lane. You could see we all wanted to come in and get new boots on. But DRS back enabled. As I've ended up getting held up and losing places to them both. I'm on the softs, however, they're on the hards. So we are going to go racing once more. I really cannot keep myself intact as Fast Striker already having issues with trying to heat those hard compounds up. As Fast Striker really giving a pinch there, and I've just got my 3 seconds for track limits as a result of a bump by the Alpine.
I'm afraid you've been given a time penalty for that last incident, mate.
Which is mildly frustrating, but yeah, we'll just have to work with it as good as we've got. But yeah, means we are now on par with that Ferrari in a direct race for position, as Jedi has opted to stay out on the mediums under the VSC, and this could have been a play and a half for the Haas as it shifts him right into this fight for a podium here in CRL Season 3 Round 5 of the Elite Division in Miami. Max Scavenger closing in to the Haas car. I'm going to look for a lunge to the outside of the Ferrari. I know this is going to all be about the exit now, which I will get, and the Haas now into the pits, and that is job well done for me. Onto the softs and up 2 places in 1 lap, and this is all about trying to keep up until the end, because we know the softs are not going to last the precious 15 odd laps we have left. So it will have to be a matter of fact as of when we pit in order to take us home and get as many points as we possibly can, whether that's 3rd, whether it's 4th, whether it's even 5th in this race, because Jedi will be within our pit window and will be closing in that Haas over the next few laps while I'm on slightly older soft compounder tyres. But if I can drive in a renewable manner, hopefully I can try and take that soft the extra lap that I personally expect to go, which is a lap 20, which is still only a 5 odd lap stint on these soft compounder tyres. As you can see, tyre wear on the right, sky high this race. It really is not a pretty time to be on any set of tyre. It kind of came out of the blue, I'd say. But now this is really where I'd hope there's another safety car in this race, and then we can get away with it. But yeah, my new personal best of this race on the softs. It's a very mediocre personal best, I'll say. But yet again, trying to manage the pace for a podium. As I'll be brutally honest, it's going to look like it's hard to the end for them I don't have the tyre wear to do the same luxury. As seen in the last stint, it only took me 10 laps to have to abort that strategy. As I'll be honest, this race will be about holding ground as long as I can. And you can see I just get a bit extra grip through the low speed of the Mickey Mouse, and then I can get out and start legging it down the back straight while things can be done. Of course, my fate will be settled quite shortly, as there's a yellow flag. It's for one of the two Hasses. I believe that is Suspension, who is into a wall. As again, a 31.9, so pace is not too shabby if I say so myself. But is it the pace to give me that benefit in the final stint or not? I do not think so. But once again, fending off Fire Striker into this DRS zone, it's all going to be about what they do as to whether or not I live to fight another day. But they'll have to try and fend off Max Scavenger. I'm going to force Max Scavenger to the outside. Fire Striker is going to pin it to the inside, so I'm going to have to bear in mind both cars there. I may get reported for pushing that Ferrari a wee bit wide. All I can say, my defence, 3 wide there. Had to babysit 2 cars, but that does not mean it's fair to push another driver off the road. You can also argue over whose corner, but we'll just get our heads down and see where the wind takes us today. Because again, we'll try and get the exit on Fire Striker here, which we unfortunately won't do so. But the DRS will let us close in a bit to the Alpine. But I do feel like this being our first time in this position going through the rest of the first sector, it may be the end of our days in this fight for at least 2nd place here in Miami. But we'll see what we can do for the remainder of this lap. Of course, a poor exit there, going to use the battery to build back some ground as Max Scavenger all over the back of me, trying to push himself and that Ferrari into the top 3 on track and maybe even past Fire Striker. Instead, I'll go to the inside of the Ferrari, give a little bit of a push again, and now back in position to go back racing with the Alpine through the rest of this sectors. Now that track limits penalty is pretty much unappealable, because I've just got my 4th strike for track limits here, and now I'll use DRS to try and fight the Alpine once more. Up towards the hairpin we go. He'll cover the inside. I'm going to look to squeeze it to the outside, then try and get a bit of extra run, bit of extra road on the exit, as it does look like next lap is our pit lap. We'll have to monitor the tyre wear over the course of this lap, however, as we'll go to the inside of the Alpine, banging wheels, and now we fight it through turns 2, turns 3, trying to tuck in once more as this battle rages on. I'm going to look to the inside, I'm going to dash it a little lunge, put Fire Striker in an awkward position. They'll send it deep unnecessarily, and now this is where the main battle will commence. Onto this back straight up towards the Mickey Mouse section. I've got only 40% of battery, so I'll have to use it as if it's my last leg in this race, as if this is my lifeline. But Max Scavenger to my outside, it's going to have to be a squeeze. I've gone hot on my brakes, that is all on me. and unfortunately I'm now behind not one but 2 cars into this Mickey Mouse section. As I think there's enough tyres to go 1 extra lap and put myself 1 less lap to do in this race. Maybe if lucky 2. But it comes down to how close I am with these a lot. Come the end of this lap, as I'll honestly tell you straight up, these tyres are gone. And so's my battery. So that is not what any driver would want to wish for here in CRL. But what comes round comes round. As Firestrike is starting to drop the ball from Max Scavenger, somewhat showing how much tyres Firestrike has saved from not having to fight me too relentlessly. As yeah, these tyres have lit up quite a lot, so it will be box this lap, and now our race will be against that Haas for 4th place. As pit confirm for a set of mediums in this race. As you can just see how much time I am really losing to the cars ahead, because that right front does not want to drive anymore. It's screaming out for help, almost as if I've shot it dead 10 times over. It really is in a gruesome state. You can just see off the sunlight all the graininess on the tyre. It's so close to puncture territory. Could happen any moment, as suspension disqualified from the race. That leaves us with 6 out on track. Big points almost for anyone who makes it to the end today. But who will? Because there's still time for a mistake to come around and the result to completely get revolutionised. But you've got the Haas now working onto that main straight up towards turn 1. As I now dive into my pit box, it's going to be the hunt for 4th here in Miami. You can see those tyres not too heavily worn, should be enough to take me to the end if I drive carefully yet aggressively. It's very oxymoronic, but 7 seconds, 8 laps to see what can be done here in the state of Florida. Fiora fastest lap, Jesus. On old rubber as well. That just shows how imperious of a drive it's been so far for that McLaren, almost like they've been left in their own world. But now Jedi in the Haas, already dropping a second on this lap. I'm going to be closing into those cars ahead as well. Or as much as I can, because knowing me, I do not have that pace. But if softs can go 6 laps, these mediums can go at least, I want to say 8. But yeah, we'll also have to bear in mind when and if the 2 on the outskirts of the podium do pit, or if they end up finding the wall and ending their own races. Because yeah, 6 currently remaining of the 10 who started. It's not been too bad of a day. I've pretty much stayed stationary from the get-go, but hoping to finish on a +1. With the Legends Div commentator just up the road. I kind of want to beat him for the sake of my pride. But we never know. The gap really isn't coming down too much, because these mediums are a bit bruised already. It's going to be all out punishment on them for the rest of this race. I'm going to end up beating them until they bleed black and blue rather than yellow ball. But Jedi having a big hiccup there. He's dropped a good second and a half in that Mickey Mouse alone. So maybe could there be a bit of save your tyres in that middle set, well, in that first and middle sector, and then come back stronger come the end of the lap. But now with about 5, maybe 6 laps to go, it is 3.8 if you want to be exact on that Haas of Jedi. It's time to see whether or not Sauber can take home a 4th place, or whether Haas can take their season best result of 4th or even 5th for their sake. Whereas unfortunately I can't continue Sauber's gain from Abu Dhabi, where Oliver took a very well deserved podium, kept it clean all throughout. But yeah, while I fight Jedi for position, Max Scavenger and Fire Striker will also be in a fight for their position in this race. 2nd versus 3rd and 4th versus 5th, all to play for. As into the Mickey Mouse, it was 3 seconds upon entry. Let's see what it appears to be upon the exit. A bit of a corner cut in my defence, and it's only a matter of tenths found there, but you can just see that Haas becoming a bit clearer in my front view. As if the Haas wanted to, we could have a commentator's duel. I'm just praying he listens and does it, but I want to hunt him. If things don't go my way, they don't go my way. But it's 2.3 going out of turn 1, 2.5 make it going into turn 2. So in the rest of the race, probably half a second, 6 tenths a lap is what I will need to bring the challenge to him. And the question will be, can I keep those tyres intact come the end? Because I will tell you, I'm going to be right on the line of a puncture, and with high rising tyre wear than those ahead. But you can see that Haas is probably struggling a wee bit as well, because that gap is starting to come down quite a fair bit. As could there be a second out of this exit? No, it'll be 1.1. So DRS should hopefully come soon. As you can see, Fast Striker and Max Scavenger on track, having a little swap of places here in Miami. But yeah, Fiora, just like in Abu Dhabi, such a controlling drive, almost like they've not had to think too much about their actions. They had Dark Paul retire, and then it's just been them since. Now, me versus the Haas. Who will come home fourth? DRS is now in play for me. This is going to be one tasty fight, because I know he likes to get his elbows out, especially when it's 4 points. But I think if we want it, we'll have to go the long way around him, rather than the straightforward in a straight line, because I know he will fight back without a shadow of a doubt. But we'll deploy some battery We'll try and peel him off his racing line, but we won't pounce. They go deep. We'll get on the throttle a wee bit sooner. They'll get DRS, however, so it will be a matter of fact, can we defend that first corner as we enter the third to last lap here in Miami? The Haas poised to the inside. They looked for a lunge. I've gone a bit deep. They've hit that apex, as you could see in my rear right mirror, but I will hold on to 4th place, and we will just continue to walk this along, almost like a dog on a leash here. And I'm trying all I can to tame the beast of the Haas as we now hit the extreme tyre wear point, or the medium tyre wear point. So it's going to be 2 laps after this to try and not burn out about 40%, let's say 35% tyre life for the sake of it. As you can see, the Haas look to the inside there. They just didn't have enough road that time to fully commit. They'll probably have enough road into the final corner to try and commit. But Jedi has picked up a 6th track limit strike, and therefore 6 seconds of penalties in this race. We'll let them use their DRS because we know we've got a bit more speed than them through the corners. A bit more grip is the nicer way to put it. But now us versus the Haas. How do they want to defend? They will cover that road. And I've got 6 seconds as well. Just giving it everything here to the inside. They'll pull off a switchback. Nice. But we'll get ahead once more. As now 4 DRS zones. Not even 4. Let's say 3. Because you get about half of one up to the line. It's for like 2 milliseconds. Then you cross. So yeah, let's say 3 DRS zones to determine who comes home 4th, who comes home 5th, and then 2 for 3. No, we've got 5. I can't even count. We've got this, that, and then another lap of it. So yeah, and then 4 for the fight for 2nd. We've got Jedi to the outside. We'll cover the Haas off for the time being, but just again, not enough road. So it will probably go into turn 15, I believe it is, whatever the final corner or final low speed corner is of this lap. Get on throttle sooner, try and build up that margin, but you can see we have been saving a bit of that battery as we have hit 70% tyre wear. So 1 lap 30%, but this is where the tyre wear will start going up like it is crazy. But we will hold off into that final corner. Jedi's going to try and pounce into turn 1. It will literally be whoever leads out of the final corner next time round. So a minute 35, let's say, to determine who comes home 4th. Not much time. That goes in an instant. However, it's not over until that checkered flag is waved. But for Fiora, it will be waved for them as they win in Miami. We'll just be some lower ranks waiting to take our success in the near future. But you can see 9/10 between me and Jedi. He will not have the road this time. And what I'm going to try and do to consolidate us the place is harvest throughout the Mickey Mouse. Give us all the battery we have got, and therefore it must be one crazy lunge into that final corner if they want it. But do they care about it is the question, as much as I do, because this is a commentator's duel to say the least. But you can just see he's dropped out of DRS zone. Out of there it will all be raw top speed, but he's also picked up 9 seconds, so this is for on track. And around the final corner for the final time here in Miami, it will be us who somehow miraculously has survived. as I don't think we'll end up getting those results. Yes, we will. But yeah, that is the race over. We will quickly go through the finishers. It is Fiora, Max Scavenger, Fire Striker, myself, Jedi, then Uncrewed Axis with Dark Drag, Cellular Pie, Suspension and Jude, all failing to finish, but for now that's me. And I will end up seeing you all hopefully next week as a commentator, but you should find Jedi as your commentator on Monday, for I believe it's your first sprint of the Legend season. But for now, that's been me. Goodbye.